already the set time which we discussed. So I'll just start. And thank you for joining, Hamad. Thank you for joining Trevor as our speaker today. So just a little introduction. This is Anam Qureshi, as you guys know already, and we've done this a couple times. This is LinkedIn audio podcast live. I am thrilled to have Trevor with us today. So Trevor Shewfelt is a dedicated pharmacist at Dauphin Clinic Pharmacy in Canada, Manitoba. And he is also the co-host of Reefer Medness podcast. You guys can check out his profile and get to know more about him. So, Trevor, do you like to say something about your introduction, please?
Absolutely. Good morning, Anam. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's great to be here. So, yes, I'm a pharmacist. I've done that for a little while. Looks like it's getting closer to 27, 28 years. We've been doing podcasting now since 2017. So we are getting up to 5, 6, 7 years with that now, too. So do you want me to start with why I got into podcasting?
Oh, yes, please. Please let us know.
Sure. So at that point, our pharmacy was looking after 5 different personal care homes, and we had a request from one of the docs to get some medicinal cannabis into one of the care homes. Now, this is pre-recreational legalization, but cannabis has been available medicinally in one form or another since the early 2001, depending on which court case you were following. So it was out there, it was available, and it's a care home. We get everything from fentanyl to chemotherapy into care homes. So it should have been easy, I thought, for me to get cannabis into the personal care home, and the answer was no. It was absolutely positively impossible for a pharmacy to get cannabis into a care home. There was no way it was allowed across pharmacy threshold. The only way for a person in a personal care home to have access to cannabis was if it was ordered by the doctor. It went to a family member's house, like son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew's house, and then that family member physically brought it into the care home, which was just a dumb system.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking about that with a friend of mine who happens to be a nurse, and he's been a cannabis advocate for a really long time. So instead of just the two of us talking about it, we wondered what would happen if we started a podcast. We're both avid podcast listeners, and wondered if we could start a podcast and call up smart people and ask them questions about cannabis, and that's what turned into Reefer Medness, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is great. So, yes, today we are touching why podcast, why digital marketing, and lots of experience Trevor has as a pharmacist. So we are discussing a lot about that. And I'd just like to ask Trevor first, as a pharmacist and a podcaster that he is, how do you see digital marketing can play a role in the future of growing independent pharmacies? And what about the podcast like yours, like Reefer Medness? How can that help the pharmacies reach new audience and build a more stronger community and relationship with their community, neighborhood, and the general public? What do you think about this, Trevor?
Sure. Well, I think all digital marketing should be about building a community, because, pharmacy is not a place where we want people to come in, once, buy a stick of gum, buy a pack of Nicorette and leave. We want them to keep coming back. We want them to trust us with, their health problems, their family's health problems, their moms, their kids. So we want to build a community. We want to build trust. So whatever digital marketing you pick, it should be one where people are going to come back again and again and feel comfortable coming back again and again. And I think podcasting lends itself well to community building. Audio is very intimate. It's like having a friend talk in your ear. Most people listen to podcasts over headphones. It's in many ways like having a private conversation with many people at once. The privacy and intimacy of the audio form, I think, lends itself to building trust. And then it's up to the podcaster to build, good, accurate content. But just the audio form, I think, is great for building trust because it is such an intimate form of communication. A podcaster I listen to, Terry O'Reilly, he's with the CBC, but he has his own set of podcasts as well. He's a marketer, he does digital marketing, but he's been a advertising person for 30, 40 years. He talks about back in the day, he used to do outreach or conferences for CBC, and they would have all the TV personalities there, and people would rush up to the TV personalities and want to get their autographs, and they recognized them from TV, and that was great. He said, but the strange part is they wanted to touch the radio people, because the radio people, they felt like they were their friends. They felt like they knew them, because they've been talking to their ears for so long. They felt like they really trusted the people who were dealing with audio, so much so that they felt it was important to come up and touch the audio people. So just back to audio, I think, just inherently builds trust and intimacy. So I think lends itself very well to pharmacy.
Yeah, and I really loved when you said it's like a friend speaking in your ear. That is so much correct. When we have this live, we have a pharmacist like you with so much experience for so many years. People do like to get in touch and connect with them, ask them questions that builds a lot of trust and credibility. So this is one reason why I am here and doing this here in the morning here today. So this is really cool, and I think we have now so many digital solutions in our hands which we can use and engage with our customers. Like before, when there was a famous personality or successful personality, we would try to get in touch with them, but we couldn't. But now I think all the technology it's bringing people so much closer. That's what I really love about it. And I often talk about how pharmacists can use platforms like the social media and podcasting to enhance their reach, to come closer to their audience, to their target potential customers or the people they want to spread the word out to. How have you leveraged digital channels? How have you used them to promote your podcasting? And in your pharmacy career, what is the advice that would you be giving to pharmacy owners that can try to do the same thing and bring people closer? What do you say about this?
Sure. Well, it's sort of a two-pronged answer, because what we do for the pharmacy and what I do for the podcast are slightly different. So the podcast I run with my co-host Kirk Nyquist, the nurse, it really is just kind of a side gig, side project. Not exactly, it's not like we keep a secret that I work at the Dauphin Clinic Pharmacy, but because we can't sell cannabis products through the pharmacy, it's a separate thing. So first I'm going to talk about what we do at the pharmacy. And at the pharmacy, it's really simple. Facebook is king. For our demographic, for the older person, Facebook is their social media platform of choice, and older people are the majority of the people who come to the pharmacy. Also in our area, we have a lot of First Nations And they also Facebook Messenger really truly seems to be the choice of in our area, at least, of the First Nations in our area. Facebook is king. Facebook is, if we put up a flu clinic, a charity event, general health info, a new line of last week we announced on Facebook we had a new line of electrolyte rehydration products. We put that all on Facebook because that goes the fastest, the farthest. We still use traditional media, like there is a local radio station, there's a local paper, we put it there too, because there are people who are not on digital anything. But as far as for the pharmacy, Facebook is king. The podcast has been more interesting and trickier. So we've gone on as many platforms as we can think of. We probably get the most traction through LinkedIn. I'm assuming that's because that's where more pharmacists, nurses, and other healthcare professionals are. But we also post on X/Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and it really seems to depend on the episode about where that comes up the most. And honestly, on the podcast, I still think a lot of it is word of mouth. We had a funny thing a couple months ago, I was working a weekend in the pharmacy, and now remember, I'm in Manitoba, which is 3 provinces away from Alberta, but we had a lady in there who was a refugee at that point from Jasper, Alberta, from the big fire there. And so I had to do some chatting with her doctor to get a more complicated injection in, but it was all good. We had it all ready for her. And then my pharmacy technicians and assistants had a big chuckle because she wanted to get a selfie with me. I don't get a request for selfies very much in the pharmacy. But the
That's
reason
interesting.
she requested the selfie wasn't for her, but she knew her pharmacist, who was, again, at that point, a refugee from Jasper, was a fan of the podcast. So she wanted to get a selfie with me in the pharmacy I worked in to send back to her pharmacist who is, running a pharmacy from, I'm not sure where. I picture her with, a laptop in a hotel room trying to, find places for her customers to get their medications, Full credit to her for all the work she was doing under very difficult circumstances. But yeah, I think it's that word of mouth, that person to person, hey, have you listened to this podcast? It's still, I think we have to be on all the social media platforms, but I think it's that person to person recommendation that still gets you the farthest.
Yes, totally. Because how I feel is that, of course, you're a pharmacist and working in your profession in your pharmacy. It is a very, I'd like to say, a serious profession, of course. But then when people like to see your more casual side, more easier side, so we have a podcast, which is really nice, and just for people to connect with you more on a more casual level. So we do have Hamad here, Tabinda, Muhammad, Ali Malik, all our listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. And you guys know you can join us and talk or ask any questions that you have. Hamad is very experienced. He's a business coach, so he would know better than me how all this works, the podcasting, the digital marketing, and all our folks listening to us. Thank you for joining. And by the way, we are also recording it, so we will be looking for the recording on our website. I will be posting it after the podcast, so lots of other people can take advantage of this podcast. Very nice podcast, by the way. Trevor, thank you for joining me, and Hamad would like to speak, so please, Hamad, go ahead.
Thank you, and very good morning, and happy Thanksgiving for everyone in your families as well. Trevor, amazing. The things that you said, the connect that your podcast and your social media, the way it connects with people that perhaps is most essential part of the whole game. If we are able to connect with people, I mean, you connected through a podcast that talked about cannabis. So I always say, pick one thing and run with it. And run as far as you can so that you exactly know what kind of audience you're building around you. So my question here, Trevor, is you talked about Facebook, and rightly so as well because of the demography. A lot of people use Facebook in Canada, anyways, at the moment. What other platforms do you think are growing? I mean, do you also? I believe you said you use Instagram as well. Have you ever did any audit of the performance of your social media? Uh, and yet, from where you're getting more leads or more traction. I would actually call traction rather than lead. So that's my question to you.
It's a good question, Ahmad. To be honest, we are probably not as diligent as we should be. Our audit is the way it's worked. Kirk sort of looks after our Instagram and our Facebook. We both look at the LinkedIn, but I look after more the Twitter and the LinkedIn, and we haven't done anything more official or deep dive than how many interactions, how many likes, how many shares, how many reposts on the various sites. And interesting, you talked about Instagram. Now I'll declare my bias. I don't love Instagram. Kirk does. That's why Kirk is looking after it. But one of the things that's always bugged me about Instagram is it's so much harder for people to link to something. Like, you can make the prettiest picture, prettiest caption, but it is then they still have to click a couple more places before they can go to the episode or listen to the audio or go to somebody's site that we're putting them to. So yeah, Instagram always kind of bugged me that way. That seems to be, they have to, if you want a call to action, you want them to just be able to sort of hit one button and go somewhere. And Instagram always seems to be difficult to do that, where other places like Facebook, X/Twitter, and LinkedIn, you put a link right there and they can go watch the episode, go to the whatever you're pointing them towards. But back to your original question, have we done a good and true proper audit? No, it's just we sort of look at, how many engagements did we get on that last post.
And so what do you do when you have, once you have the audit and when you find, okay, in the past 30 days, these two posts really performed well, what is your next action?
Again, Hamad, we probably need someone like you to tell us what to do, because we try, if we have a post that does well, we try to make the next post look more like that. But no, I don't have, a lot of times it's a bit of a mystery to us, is, this post worked well and this post didn't. What did we do right or wrong about it? No, honestly, we are not particularly good at that.
Yeah, no, this is, so I'm just asking, I was just curious as to how do you, because you've been doing it for a while. So maybe Anam would be able to help you in that, like doing a little audit. And algorithms are mysteries. I always say that. But we really need to keep an eye on what kind of content is performing better, what time of posting worked better. Often people do not post on weekends. I always tell them post on weekends, because on weekends, most of the social media is hungry for content, because nobody's posting. Right? Hardly anyone posts. People are busy, particularly in Canada when there is summer. People are doing their barbecues or they're traveling around. That's the time when you should post, because when we realize that there is a hungry platform, you give them whatever you want to give them, they're going to boost it, because they want to show this content which is like short in supply to more and more people. So that's probably one thing that you should, but anyone in the social media should be looking at. So Anam, here you go. You do the audit and help Trevor do better, more accurately targeting the audience and kind of using the real power of social media. So Trevor, in my case, I experimented. So I pivoted from my very, very long uh, career as an economist, as an international economist, into coaching and mentoring and e-learning at the age of 55. And I'll be turning 60 soon. So 5 years in this whole journey. And every day is a new learning. And today's new learning for me is what I knew already, but I never thought about it so deeply. Is the way voice connects with people. And I went into my childhood when radio was the thing. TV was not that in. I'm from Pakistan, and we only had the longer version of TV broadcast in 80s, and I was born in 64, so you can imagine. And radio was the in thing, and therefore the voice connects with a situation, with an environment. And this is exactly what I feel also about podcast. You know, podcast is like, it's one of the best tools for building trust. And what I like on the a little funnier side of it, you don't have to dress up. You just be in your pajamas, and you just have to have a decent like microphone, and that's basically it, and you are in. Um, so all the best to you. I really love being part of this conversation. And over to you, Anna, for the moderation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmad. I appreciate those tips, and I agree with you. And there's definitely many rural parts of Canada that, radio is king because radio reaches them. And there's also, I think, even people forget, there's lots of times of day that you can't consume video, whether you're in the shower or driving somewhere or at work. Many places you can't consume video, whether it be TV or YouTube, but audio, much more flexible.
Exactly. And look at the growth of Audible and why they picked it up. People, the habits are changing. So people don't have time to read, but they can always listen because that's something that it's almost effortless. I usually say, make an effort when you're listening. You don't hear things, so you should listen. But again, commonly Audible is where you're driving and you're trying to read a book through Audible and stuff. So thumbs up to you for continued journey. And I'll move to the listening part of it. You guys can continue. Thank you.
Thanks, Ahmad.
Yeah, this is so amazing. And when we think about it, like you mentioned, Audible and audio podcast as well for that, because you can literally be driving. You can I can be cooking. I could be in the gym or maybe putting my kids to bed. What do I need? I just need headphones in my ears, and I'm listening to some amazing audio sessions, podcast, even the audio books. They are amazing, and that they are that's a very smart idea, I believe, because sometimes you cannot sit down to read a whole book, but you can always listen to it, and there's a lot of power in these audios. So I really, by the way, enjoy doing this, connecting through this platform. And of course, I could be in my pajamas, so do not worry about dressing up. That's a positive thing, I'd say. And what do you think, Trevor? Maybe some challenges which you could have faced dealing. You said that for the Reefer Medness, you're not doing it so much to the pharmacy side, but any like challenges you have faced digitally when you put your content on Facebook or Instagram, on your podcast, through marketing platforms. How can the digital marketers like myself, by the way, help overcome overcome these challenges? Because one challenge I'd like to mention, I deal with a lot of pharmacy owners, independent pharmacy owners, and when I tell them that, hey, digital marketing, this is amazing, and even podcasting, even putting your content, even putting some health tips, some health information, like the flu season, just general tips to your public, to your audience, they are going to read it, and it will build trust and credibility if you just trust it. This works in amazing ways. So oftentimes they think that it is not so powerful. I mean, the digital marketing and these platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn, but I think they are so much powerful. What do you think, Trevor?
I do. I'm going to go down just a quick side road because Ahmad made me think of something I've been playing with. Like everybody else, I've been dabbling with AI stuff. So one of the ones he's talking about Audible and books, and I don't have time to read. I took our latest, latest, I think it was 30 or 40 page PDF from the Manitoba government for it's flu injection season. So this were sort of their injection instructions for this flu season, and I fed it into Google Notebook LM, and it feeds you back out a 2-person summary podcast, like a male and a female voice, basically summarizing the document. Now, I'm not saying this is good or it's ready for prime time, and there's probably some inaccuracies in it, but there's so many interesting tools to play with. Just like Ahmad was saying about you don't have time to read a book. What else could this Google Notebook LM taking some written stuff and turning it into an audio summary for someone who didn't have time? Fascinating stuff. But biggest challenges. So at the pharmacy part, we could, and we can't be the only one, we could use some help with automation / chatbots for Facebook Messenger. So again, and I'm not picking on our First Nations communities, but it just seems really popular there for people that Facebook Messenger is their primary form of communication. They don't phone, they don't text, they want to send all their communication to the pharmacy through Facebook Messenger, which is fine, but they also want to send something at 11 at night, 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and we are closed sometimes. So some form of, at the very least, hey, we're closed, contact us back at 9 in the morning, or it'd be even better if there was a really simple chat bot that could give them some basic information after hours would be great. And then, so managing Facebook Messenger, I think, would be our biggest sort of digital problem for the actual pharmacy. For the podcast, it's feedback, sort of kind of too much and too little. How do you get the listeners to tell, you'll get the occasional email and message saying, I really like this episode, I really hated this episode. And you can look through the stats to see what people listen to. But better, for lack of better words, surveys. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you like to hear more of? Where do you live? So some kind of way of surveying the audience better than we're doing now would be great. And then occasionally we get a lot of feedback that's identical on all at once. We did one episode that's really popular, and 180 people all have the same question. How do we automate a response to a similar question when they come in all at once? So those are sort of two of the digital challenges that I could think of for the pharmacy and then for the podcast.
So, I'd like to address it because now the technology is so much smarter. We do have some systems and some automations that we connect with your social media and your website, like the chat bots, and they have a lot of information about your businesses, like common questions as well as some advanced questions. It's what we feed them, and then when a person asks about that question, they are able to answer in a very effective way. So at least we don't lose customer or a potential client, and then we also get their information in a file where we can connect with them later when we are online or when we look at the report that the bot provides us. So there's a lot of progress in that area, and we do provide automation as well, if people are interested, of course. And what strategies have you found very effective in building an audience, just for your business or as a pharmacist? Have you educated people, maybe done any volunteer work, or any engagements with audience, with your neighborhood? What about the complex healthcare issues? Have we addressed that? What do you say?
Sure. Well, yes to all of that. I guess we started in the offline world, in late 90s, early 2000s. I was writing a weekly column in our paper, just addressing common health issues. We'd start with how to quit smoking in January to, how to treat lice when kids went back to school in September, and sort of everything in between. And that sort of turned into a quick radio. We basically read the same weekly update into on the radio, starting about 10 years after that. And that's probably the precursor to the podcast. That audio that was going out on the radio worked really well. And so that's one of the reasons I sort of thought that podcasting might be a way to go. But other things we've done numerous public presentations to, the Friendship Center here, diabetes groups, arthritis groups, basically anybody who asks us to come do a presentation. We've done presentations to nursing groups about, using medications in long-term care homes. So we try to pride ourselves on doing a lot of outreach in our area. And volunteer, yes. All our pharmacy and staff are encouraged to do volunteer work, up to including there is a Thanksgiving meal. We didn't organize when it was. It didn't happen before Thanksgiving, happening afterwards. But our local food bank, we've got a Thanksgiving meal coming up next week that I think we've got about half a dozen staff going to. So yes, community involvement. We're a small community. It's key. You have to, every T-shirt you give away to a local curling or kids hockey team, every group that wants to have a pharmacist do something at it, every senior's home that wants to have a diabetes day where you sort of show up and check some blood pressures and do some blood sugars too. We actually go to the point of organizing. We do flu clinics in the pharmacy, but several of our seniors' residences will actually send a pharmacist out and line them up in the dining room and do flu shots there too. So I think people need to see you in the community. So yes, we've done a little bit of all of that.
Yeah, that's very well, and that is very impressive that you guys have been doing all of these activities to engage with the people in your community. That is awesome, and I think a lot of people do not care about this, and they think that it is not very effective, or they don't need to step out of their pharmacist role and get involved with people. But I think it is very important to engage with them in a more casual, easier way. And in that way, you can build trust and credibility. Just come forward and, connect with people, either digitally, that's very important. And of course, physically as well. When you serve them, when you volunteer them, when you participate in a local event that is taking place. So people do see us, and then we are billboards of our business, right? So they engage with our business. They get to know more about us. What if a person is out of town, but then he knows we have this pharmacy there, maybe word of mouth, and they have family members around in that area. So word of mouth matters. Reputation is key, and I think these are very important things that we should be keeping in mind as business people. This is just forms of advertisement, so we should really be thinking about these things. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. And sorry, I don't think I got to the second part of your question about how to deal with complex health issues. And it's, the silly but sticks in your mind. It's the, how to eat an elephant, and it's one bite at a time. So you can't teach somebody everything they need to know about diabetes in one sitting. You just can't. It's a huge topic. They're newly diagnosed. You can't tell them everything they need to know, but you can do a small thing. So you can do a little bit of content about a continuous blood glucose monitor, or Ozempic, or metformin. Like when I wrote the articles for the paper/radio, you'd pick one thing. You wouldn't do everything about diabetes, but maybe there's a new diabetes medication out there. So if you're going to develop digital content about anything health related, I think the trick is to do series of short episodes on something. So whether that's a series of blogs or posts or videos, maybe this TikTok video is part 6 of 10 on asthma treatments in children. So I think the key to complex health issues is break them down into small manageable chunks, and just remember, you're eating the elephant just one bite at a time. And the other thing about that is it actually kind of makes the content creation easier, because you don't have to make a huge, complicated thing, whether it be audio, video, or written. You can, if you break it up into, 2, 3, 4, 10 sections, well, you've now made so much more content, but each of them is shorter, and people will appreciate that more anyway.
Yeah, yes, I guess that's very important, of course, like you mentioned, eating an elephant. So, yes, exactly. Like, we have so many things going on in health, of course. We do need to give some information to our customers, our patients, some generic things. We can obviously put it out on the social media, one post at a time, or podcasting, like half hour, 1 hour session, live session, where patients can connect with us outside of the pharmacy, and when they have more questions, they can always ask us. So that's one thing, but podcast, you really have to be available for that. But for social media automation, when we are discussing complex things like diabetes, like blood pressure, like the heart, we have so many things involved, each with so many list of medications. We cannot put one post at a time. That will be difficult for people to consume as well. We can maybe make a series of our post and make it automated, where they will be seeing it every 2 days. A post is coming on their topic, health issue that they are interested in. So automations, that is so great nowadays, and I really love that idea, automating everything when we have time, and then we don't have to worry about when we are able to post it the next time. So I think this is an amazing idea of just automating things.
I agree. Like you said, if you make it sit down on some Sunday morning and put together a whole bunch of episodes of something, and then have them come out over time, I think that makes yours and the consumer of the media's life easier.
Yes, and great discussion today, Trevor. I think I'm just going to let you go now and enjoy your day with your family. By the way, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for your valuable time. I really enjoyed today's discussion, and I'm going to post a recording on my website so more people can take advantage of this discussion. I just like to thank you so much for attending today's live session, and enjoy your rest of the day with your family, and just happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Nam. I really enjoyed it, and thank you everyone for listening. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a great day.